So today is kind of cool. I figured, why not, when we're talking about getting prepared and we talk about being prepared for success, why not talk about, the things that happen a little bit behind the scenes, some of the things that you don't see, on the real estate end, or maybe that people aren't talking about. And so I figured this is going to be a great time to speak to an expert in the industry regarding title and escrow. Because a lot of times, let's face it, I have a lot of buyers that don't understand about title and escrow. And so they're kind of like, well, I don't even know how it works. Okay, they hold my money. Why are they getting paid so much? Like, why do I have to pay them? Wait, does the seller pay them or do I pay them? And then also too, how does everything work? So this is going to be a treat for those that are just getting prepared. So Elizabeth, thank you very much for agreeing to do this. And I appreciate you taking the time out just to speak to pretty much everyone about the different changes that have happened with title and escrow, and just really how to set yourself up for success in these times that we're having, but just in a regular sell. And that's on the buy side and on the sell side. So before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself and why, gosh, you've chosen a 20-year career as being a title and escrow expert.
Well, absolutely. Again, good morning, everyone. Such an honor for me to be joining Tamika here in her special segments. I'm just thrilled, really excited. So having said that, and thanking everyone online and thanking her, I do have, I feel a blessing and a privilege to be the third neutral party. And it's just been a fantastic career for me. I have the opportunity to work with a lot of real estate professionals, the realtors, the lenders, all the vendors as well, that are just as important, because we all work in collaborative spirit to take a renter, someone that maybe has always had the home ownership dream. And so we're all there, and we take individuals, families from A to Z, so that they too can have the dream of home ownership. And so it's been a journey, like Tamika has suggested, 2 decades, but I keep learning, and I've had the opportunity to work with some just incredible individuals that are on a mission to help a lot of families out there to get a home, someplace, a house they can call and make a home for them and their families and future generations, generational wealth as well. So I think it's fantastic to have landed in the title and escrow world, and I work at Fidelity National Title, so really excited to work for a $12 billion company that ensures title for the property that they're going to buy.
1 second, Elizabeth. There's an echo. If your volume can be priced down, probably on Instagram, all the way down if you can. There you go. Mute yourself. Yep. There you go. Your sister's saying that there was an echo. But so tell us a little bit about how does title and escrow, how does that work in the whole process?
Well, we are the third neutral party, so we're going to be working with the realtor, the lender, and the home warranty companies, the inspectors, contractors at times, real estate attorneys. So there can be several individuals that will be part of your transaction. And so as a third neutral party, we are in the midst of it all, and we in collaborative spirit, we answer and are there for everybody involved to make sure that we take this renter to the position of being a homeowner or a move-up buyer, perhaps. But we help everybody that is selling, buying, and refinancing.
Exactly. And if you can give me a brief overview on how it works in the process. So say, for instance, someone gets their home accepted. How does the escrow company come in, like on the buyer side? What are some of the things that are the setup for, hey, this is the escrow company, this is what you're going to need to do?
Yes, so we are notified once there's a fully executed contract. That's once Tamika gets your offer accepted. She's excellent in negotiating skills. And so once we get notified of that, the escrow officer, there's several at any given time at any of the title company's branches. And so the escrow officer is notified, and they'll take everybody's instructions from A to Z, whatever that contract says, and so that all your wishes and everything that was negotiated are honored from beginning to end. And so We will be working with you, with the realtor, the lender, in this case, let's say the realtor. And so we're attentive to everybody's directive to get us to the next step.
Exactly. And so then on the sell side, how does that work?
For a listing?
Yes, for a listing.
Yes. So when a seller or a homeowner is preparing to sell their property, what we would do as a title company is we will ensure that the property is free and clear of any judgments, liens, and who has a vested interest in the property. There could be several individuals that are owners of the properties, and they could have percentages, or perhaps the property may be in a trust, or maybe there's an affidavit of death, someone has passed. And so those elements of home ownership are really important. So that's going to be our job. We're going to produce a preliminary title report, and in that report, it will notify all the parties, the home sellers and the realtor and the rest of the real estate professionals, what is the standing on title on that property. So as the market, even before, sometimes up to 2 weeks, 3 weeks before, all that is reviewed on that report to make sure that when you go on the market, everything is going to be up to par, free and clear of any liens, judgments, encumbrances, anything like that that might be on the property, maybe even mechanics liens, IRS liens, child support liens, anything is possible. And that's our job. We're going to make sure, we're going to safeguard. We keep everybody out of, legal scenarios. We ensure that everybody's best interests are guarded.
Exactly. And so, and this question is, I'm gonna take it off. I just can't do the echo. You can't do the echo. Don't worry about it. So a question, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that I speak to an expert on it, because I find that even now we're dealing with COVID-19, right? So there's a regular way that we do things, but now things have changed a little bit. And sometimes it's taken about the same amount of time, but people are knowing that, hey, not everyone is, working full staff, or, are we still able to even record? So in talking today, I want to talk a little bit about the buyers. Okay. So in this market, what we're going through, we have our normalcy, but now there's some changes that have happened. What are some things that as a buyer that they should look out for when now approaching home ownership, or approaching to do an offer, or a home that they're interested in? What are some things that they should back of their mind, especially if their agent doesn't know on the buy side or the sell side? But what are some things they should make sure that they keep in mind when pursuing in this market home ownership?
Exactly. So Tamika would do an excellent job for you, but as well, you can give us a call Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We're going to give you some new protocols that came into place now with COVID-19, such as your earnest money deposit. So your offer is accepted, and so now, depending on what was negotiated, we're going to be expecting some, in good faith, some funds from you, a personal check, cashier's check, a wire, but we're going to be receiving those funds. So normally you could just walk into the branch,
right? But
now what we're doing is we're sending a courier, mostly wire. I think Silicon Valley is the intellectual capital of the world. Everyone's a lot of the times technically inclined. So we see a lot of wires, but there is workaround. So don't worry about that. That's still going to be there for you so that we can move with that first step of getting your deposit in. And so we'll be set to continue with your escrow.
Exactly. Okay, great. And then for a buyer's part, and what about signings? So earnest money deposit would be a little bit different, and in order to make sure we adhere to the SIP, or the stay in place guidelines. What about signings? The signings at the very, very end.
Signings, I think, has definitely changed. You could be signing your loan documents at a Starbucks or in the comfort of your home, or there's been different scenarios for signing. In other words, it would always be at your discretion. However, right now, something that's very different is that everybody's cautious because it is a health crisis. So your notary public will let you, or again, notify you. And if we're all well aware of social distancing, so they'll let you know about the 6 feet apart, And so we've seen anything from signings happening out in the garages with the doors open, the patios. I know myself as a notary, I've done two in a garage where the garage door was open. So the mask, the gloves, we never share pens. We were in the beginning, perhaps the first week, giving you a new pen, but now, you know, we just ask you have your pens ready so that the notary public never has to touch your ID, never has to interact pens with you. And so we're very attentive to that and making sure that everybody's safety comes first. So all of our notaries are approved. They're multilingual in any language that you choose. So that's still there for you, but at the same time, know that the circumstances or the venue where you'll be signing, we have to give that some thought to protect you, and as well our notary public, whoever does the signing for you will let you know what's their comfort level as far as their safety as well.
Exactly. Okay. No, and so that's good. So yes, so those are some of the workarounds for at least the buyer. Now for on the sell side, let's back up a little bit, because I think, you know, when you put a house on the market, you think that, okay, all I have to do is put the house on the market, you know, find myself a realtor and just kind of start the process. But in this market, you know, what are some of the things that sellers should look out for so that they can have a successful sell, and when they're getting everything set up, especially even now in this environment, but still on a practical level, on just kind of business as usual, but then also too, you know, a setup for success, you know, dealing with the climate that we're in. What are some of the things they should think about before putting their home on the market in regards to like title, escrow, making sure the home is clear?
Well, we acknowledge that it may be an emotional roller coaster because it could be the biggest purchase of your life.
Right.
So right now, something that you want to be aware of is that it's going to take patience and persistence, and mostly patience, because we do work at the speed of light here in Silicon Valley, and now it could take a few days, depending, or like Tamika said, some of the vendors, they have the time that is this additional time, like an extra week or 2 weeks, that before that was not the case. Sometimes we had same day everything, including our turnarounds on our preliminary title report to let everyone know how is title on that property. So just know that things are taking a little bit longer. The real estate expert would be Tamika, so feel free to ask her those questions. But as far as title and escrow, just know that we are going the extra mile. We are communicating with all the vendors, but it may take them a little extra, maybe a day longer, or in certain scenarios, for them to get back to us or find out what is this new compliance that is going to be necessary now under COVID-19 situation that we have going on.
Right, because there is new paperwork now for for listing a home, and it has to deal around COVID-19, basically knowing that people are going to be coming into your house. Are you okay with that? Where's the comfort level? So those are some new car forms that have come out as well. But what also about, like, for instance, the preliminary, like on the prelim report, right? I know that there's new items that have been now placed on the prelim report that most agents probably don't even know about. So if you are about to list a house, even for the agents, not only that, but what are some things that you should also too look out for, even as an agent, on a prelim report, you know, regarding like trust or child support, anything like that?
Exactly. So we always recommend that you read the preliminary title report. You, as a buyer and seller, you receive that soft copy in the mail as well too. That we honor your preference, but that is readily available. So right now, more than ever, it's very important to read it, because you will see these additional disclosures or verbiage, terminology that's going to be very specific on to what's going on right now. So it's our job to clear it, but as for consumers, we want to make sure that they're informed, and that the real estate professional as well is aware of these new disclosures or additional line items on the preliminary title report. That'll be maybe a few pages in. So just be attentive to that, because they have been added for everyone's safety and legal protection.
Right. And then also too, you know, some of the things that I know that even for sellers, just on a practical basis, not even with just COVID-19, thinking about, things that may be clouds on title. Let's talk a little bit about that. What are the type of things that could be considered clouds on title and may affect you being able to put your home on the market as soon as you want to, or things that you may have to clear up, or monies that might have to be paid out to other outside areas before you even close?
Well, I'll give you a current or something that's relevant now, because people have been refinancing because the rates have been recently or historically low. Then people have taken their homes out of the trust to be able to refinance. And so now perhaps they're in the market to sell, or they're thinking about doing that. And then when we get the preliminary title report and all the parties review it, they realize, oh, especially the sellers, and say, oh, wow, well, no, wait, we're in a trust. Well, no, because we have something that was recorded with the county that shows otherwise. You're now individuals, husband and wife. So you want to make sure how title is. If it is your intention to have it in a trust, revocable, or otherwise, it's important to make sure that it's current. It's exactly how you want it to be for the sale. I can't give you legal advice, but talk to your financial advisor, your tax accountant, your CPA, whoever, so you can get some information on that specifically. But sometimes people forget that it was taken perhaps out of the way that they had it vested. But now they want to sell. They need to make sure that that's current and exactly how they want it to be.
Exactly. And such things such as, obviously trust issues are huge. Child support would also be another, another part that you would have to look out for, because most people think that, okay, well, selling my home, or mechanics lien, for instance, how can those have an effect on a seller?
Well, I'll give you a recent story. There was two couples that shall remain nameless, and they were selling this home, and it had done very well, and there was plenty of equity. They decided to sell, and on the 11th hour, or I want to say a day before, we got notification that there was a rehab amount due from, it was 11 years old.
Wow.
So we were very effective and going the extra mile and making the calls, and title company talking to that agency and so forth, and notifying public records, because that's how it was discovered. It was a public record, but unbeknownst to all the parties involved, they didn't realize that was there.
Wow.
And so we were able to get the final payoff, and so we were able to clear title, and we were able to close on time because we handled that. So something like that, that may be unexpected, or in this case just forgotten, or whatever the reason might be, but that we get a lot of those stories. So not just IRS or child support, you also get, I realize it's the exception in the rule, but they come up and they will hold the transaction, or depending on the amount, sometimes the deal will fall apart because individuals don't, our goal is that if it doesn't belong to you, we're going to make sure that it's removed off the title. That's the goal. And then everything else is at your discretion. But know that if it doesn't belong to you, or it needs to be handled quickly and with the balance zero, we're going to make sure that all the payoffs are handled on your behalf, and you can move forward, and we can record for you. Exactly. And for the buyer, we want to make sure that the property is free and clear.
Right. And and let's talk about that. So how does a buyer, for instance, how do they know that, in the end, they're going to get a property free and clear?
Yes. So you celebrate when you get the recording notification, not before. Only when we record, it's officially on record.
Right.
But let's say that you do close, and 2 weeks later, something does come up. Maybe there was a pool in the home that you purchased, and turns out that there was some dues and an amount still overdue that was still due from that pool. And so, but the good news is that there's title insurance that was paid. And so you can just give us a call. We have the file for the next 5-7 years, like the IRS, and we can look it up. And let's say that any amounts that are due, we'll handle that on your behalf, because title insurance is covering the property. So that's fantastic. You don't have to worry about that. Or let's say maybe some property taxes that were in default by the previous seller. we handle that. It's there. That's our job. We're going to make sure that you have that peace of mind during your real estate transaction, and then after as well, as far as a title, so that you're not responsible in any way for anything that belonged to the previous seller.
Right. And that's good to know. And most people do wonder, like, well, do I have to have this? And going forward, it's like, yeah, you probably should. And of course it does vary by, different companies, but pretty much it's all the same. And what it's designed to do, which is protect you, to make sure that you do get clear and clean title, which is obviously, it's in the residential purchase agreement anyway, that when it does get transferred over to you, that the seller will give it to you free and clear anyway. But no, thank you for that. And I think that will kind of clear up maybe a little bit of when people ask, okay, well, why do you need it? Why do I need to pay for? Because it's true, in different counties, different people pay for different things, right? In a transaction.
Correct. So who pays what is very important because it varies from county to county. Now, here with Tamika, she has excellent negotiating skills, so everything's negotiable. However, there is a black and white print on that. So depending on the county that you live, like for example, Santa Clara County, it's a seller paid, meaning that if you're the buyer, the seller is going to be paying for title and escrow. And so that's great. If you're buying in Alameda County, well, that's a buyer paid. So when you title it, we're considered part of the closing cost. So when title and escrow, the fees there, that's going to be paid from you as the buyer because you happen to be buying in Alameda County.
Exactly. And, since you mentioned closing costs, and talking about that, because I think that's a big thing too. I have a lot of buyers and, I give them the real estate part. This is about how much it would be, the percentage wise from your purchase price. This is what's going to be your closing costs. But can you talk a little bit about what is included in the closing cost as far as, prorated taxes? What is the bulk of that include?
So it will be title, which is specific to that. So you have title underwriters and attorneys to make sure that the policy is going to cover any encumbrances, any deeds of trust, anything like that. Then you have another special part of that, which is escrow. And so escrow is the escrow officer that is doing all the paperwork, talking to all the parties in the transaction to make sure that everybody's directives are honored and that all that is handled properly, legally, and timely. Okay. And then besides that, you also have what we consider your miscellaneous fees, but they're important as well. It's going to be your notary public, just like Tamika mentioned. And so if you come in, not currently, you wouldn't be able to, but let's say that, there is a mobile notary. So you'll have that fee there, $125, $150, that is open, but that will be there. Then you have the recording fees. As of last year, January, the fees went up. So now if it was around $80, now we usually estimate about $300 just to make sure that any recording fees are handled. And then you have the city and county transfer tax. But again, that depends on the county that you're selling or buying in. So that as well will be part of our title and escrow fees. So we are also going to be putting down on your estimate closing statement the mortgage insurance interest as well. But that would be more lender fee, but it's also part of the closing fees. But as far as us, it's going to be anything that has to do with title, escrow, the notary public, and then what we call the miscellaneous fees. Sometimes you'll see a courier fee as well, but those would be what we would consider our fees.
Right. And I think, again, because that's I'm sure, like, even with you signing documents, you're looking like, okay, so what's this fee? Prorated taxes and such, because it is true, as is customary in certain areas. You have who pays for title and escrow fees, but who also pays for city transfer tax, county transfer tax. Usually it's split, or either seller pays for a certain amount. So county by county, things will change. And this is one of the reasons why county by county, your closing costs may change. So your closing costs that are in Santa Clara County, it's probably not going to be the same as it is, actually it won't be the same as if it was in Alameda County. You're going to be paying a little bit more, less price of a home, but more with your closing costs.
Yeah, I can share an example, Tamika, if I may.
Yeah.
If you're buying, for example, in Hollister, I personally have a personal experience where I discovered that in San Benito County or in Hollister, you pay Melrose.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's an additional $1,500 in here in Hollister. It goes back to our schools. It's a great school system here, but that's one thing we didn't count, to pay a little over $100 every month just for the $1,500 for Melrose.
Right.
And so that's, so county to county, it is very important to be aware of any potential additional fee that you have just because it's that particular county.
Yeah. And those, how you, actually, I've seen it on the natural hazard disclosure, the NHD. They usually have kind of a table of Melrose or different taxes that you pay in the area, kind of over and above what you know about. So that's also a good thing to think about when you're looking at your natural hazard. You can see where the Melrose is, and I think they even have the price point on how much it's going to be. So that's a good place to find the Melrose tax, and maybe on the prelim as well.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So the other question I had with that, since we brought up prelim, there is a new part, and I don't know if we touched on it, but the new part of the prelim that talks about COVID-19. Explain that part of the prelim. What does it say? What does it entail? Why should we look out for it?
Because it's very specific to what is happening right now. So the attorneys behind the scenes and anybody that's involved with the standard legalese on these forms has added that for everyone's legal protection. So it's like a notification, like an additional disclosure, but it needs to be there because of what's happening right now for everyone's legal protection.
Okay, that's good to know, and that's a new line item. Us as realtors, like, we know everything about the prelim. but it is something that's new on there that you should take a look at and let your client know, realtors out there, let your client know that, hey, this is something that's on here, something a little bit new. It doesn't change anything, but it's at least an advisory letting the buyer know about the current times that we're in. So I thought that was kind of neat to know, because I didn't have a clue. If you didn't tell me, I wouldn't have known. So,
well, everything's hot off the press these days, Tamika.
No, it's
happening in real time.
Your eyes just kind of scan. You kind of see what you see. We talked about it before, and I'm like, oh, that's a new one, But it's definitely necessary. Question with regards to let's see here, international transactions. So, person right now, we're dealing with, travel being kind of shut down, right? A person that's international and needed to sign or has family, tell me about that workaround. How can that be successful in this market?
Well, traditionally, it may already take up to 2 weeks by the time you make an appointment with the consulate in that country. But right now, because of what's happening,
not a mobile notary kind of flying from California all the way over there to Europe. It is the consulate.
Correct. So, but right now, because of everything that's going on, as I was sharing earlier about having that patience and that persistence, it could be, more than a month just to, because of travel being shut down and everything. So, but they are still happening. Know that we are still closing transactions. We are starting transactions. Everything is still moving along. However, if you do have an international scenario where you're the seller or the buyer or some of the owners of the property maybe are not here, maybe they're in a different country right now, we do accommodate that on our end, and we can email the forms. Don't worry on that part, but you do need to go to the consulate and get notarized, and that's actually the only thing we honor.
Yeah, exactly. And so making sure that that's done in a much timelier fashion, because, if you have a deadline or like a close of escrow date, if you're not on that, it already does take a long time. So
correct.
That's obviously one, especially internationally, people can't get back into the area, just making sure that is taken care of in a timely fashion.
And that reminds me, Tamika, for talking about the time element right now as well. Mm-hmm. On my website, you can see the e-recordings. That's how the recordings are still happening as well. They're not open to the public. They're working with the skeleton crew. So they're not as fast, but they are still happening. County by county, we have we're notifying the public what's happening in your county and how are the recordings happening once a day, at what time. And, you know, it's great to know that the e-recordings are still happening and that the housing was deemed essential. So it's really great for everyone involved right now in real estate.
Exactly. I've had a good handful of them being able to close. It kind of like, you know, it jarred us for a second, but, you know, about a day or so kind of got back into going, and people were ending up closing on deals and people getting keys, and thank God for that.
Yeah.
It's always good to have a great team, you know, as well by your side. So, you know, they have, if you don't have the answer, they have the answers, or we're going to find out the answers together as it's working.
Mm-hmm.
Is the e-recording. Before, we didn't really do this. So what's the difference now in like the e-recording versus how it was before?
Well, we could walk it over if needed. Drive it over, actually, but I just happened to be close to the airport. That's why I said good. But it was, you know, very streamlined. And then right now, everything is just done via emails and exactly what it sounds like, e-recording, the wires, everything on our end, and then it gets recorded with the county, and so we're notified. And so that's just one thing to be aware of, that is specific, and every county has a new protocol that they're using because of what's happening with COVID-19. But they are still there, and they are doing a great job, I think, and making sure that everybody's transactions still close. So we're thankful for the county recorder's office.
As far as time frames, have those changed as far as when things have to be turned in so that they can record on that day or next day?
Yeah, some of the counties do mention, like for example, a 12 p.m. cutoff. And so the title company is aware of that. The escrow officers are very attentive to that for your file. And so we make sure to get that in on time so that we can be timely and close on time, and you can get your keys, or you can close your transaction and relocate, or, you know, get that great equity out, whatever the case was for you.
Yep, and we'll post the website. Go ahead and actually say the what is the website that they can log into in order to download just free information, or to see kind of what you had just shown, and they can download it themselves. Yeah,
exactly. So you're always welcome to visit the giant company Fidelity National Title's website, or you can visit elizabethfnt.com. Again, elizabethfnt.com. And it's real time, all the forms and information specific to what's happening right now. And this would be one of them, the important update for our recorder's offices.
All right, great.
For all of California. So any county will be there, and you can check it out.
Okay, great. And we'll put that on the comments as well, so that people can click on it and contact you for any questions. And in wrapping up, one of the things that we were talking about just as agents and other people in general, in this time, sickness can happen at any point. And, as a buyer or a seller, one of the things that you should always consider is, unfortunately, but fortunately, you should always consider looking at doing a power of attorney. And, just in case something happens, you can't sign, you're in the middle of a transaction, whether it be a, refinance, or whether it be a purchase, or you're selling a home, it's the pause now, anything can happen. And one of the best things you can have kind of in the back of your pocket, you could talk to your title and escrow company about doing a power of attorney. And explain a little bit about a power of attorney, and is there a specific type of power of attorney if someone does get sick and they need to complete a transaction?
Yeah, so having said that, Tamika, what she was sharing, please know that on our end, we can never give you legal advice.
Right.
We can just provide you the resources and the information, and any power of attorneys with us are specific to the subject address, not your family wishes or anything like that. No, it's very specific to the subject address. However, On our websites, you can find forms and documents that are accessible free to you that you could download or even just review them like Tamika suggested, because there's so many of them on there, including private notes that you have with individuals. There's so many. So check those out and review them. It's unfortunate, but more than 70% of Californians don't have anything in place, so even a will. So, like she suggested, taking the time to get some legal advice and prepare a trust for your family. Anybody that is owner of a property, especially here in Silicon Valley, it may be over $1 million. So, have those things in order, because things are happening unexpectedly and we're in the midst of it. So make sure that you're prepared, that you're knowledgeable, that you have the documents, and then better for you if you have the trust ready to go, or the durable one as well for the hospital, so that your wishes are honored, because sadly people are dying alone in the hospital. And but if things are addressed now while you're able and you can, that's fantastic. But you do have an opportunity to review everything that is out there for you. If you would like something like Staples or Office Depot as well, they carry some forms there for a small amount, $9.99, $12, but you can have some there, but they're accessible online. The good thing is you can Google and find all those forms, but the standard ones, you definitely have an opportunity to review on our website that may be more relevant to a trust or selling or buying, because there's so many forms on there that you can review and see what's best for you and your family.
Exactly. All right. Well, I mean, I thank you very much. We weren't going to, take too long on just kind of, the topic, but I think we got what we needed to get out to everybody. And I appreciate you taking the time to do that. Our families didn't come in on us.
Yay!
We survived.
That was the fear factor for me.
So I thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. And hey, if someone has some questions for you, again, in the comment section, we'll have all your information on there, and they could talk to you a little bit more in depth about the process or anything that you've mentioned here on the call. And again, I thank you very much, Elizabeth, for your time, and also too for your service to this this career path. And we're all in this together. And so I appreciate
We are.
Yeah, we are. We can't do it without you. You can't do it without us. But thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And we'll talk to you soon. Make your appointment with Tamika today. Take care.